Welcome to the Funnel Reboot Podcast with your host, Glenn Schmeltzley. Let's get into today's show.
Hey, Glenn here. I'm so glad that you're back at Funnel Reboot. Today, we're going to be diving into how to keep growth as the one thing that marketing and sales are both focused on. How come the companies you hear boasting about their growth rarely seem to rack up impressive growth numbers? For all those that talk the talk, very few can say that they've doubled their revenue in the last 3 years. And yet, according to our guest today, there's a simple formula for hitting that. Simply increasing new sales by 15% a year and selling 15% more per year to existing clients. He says if you do those two things, doubling revenue is totally achievable. In the 27 years since he graduated with his MBA, our guest has worked on selling and marketing in the tech sector, wanting to help a larger number of companies. In 2004, he started his own business, speaking and acting as a fractional chief revenue officer. In 2020, he authored our book that we're viewing today, Revenue Growth Engine: How to Align Sales and Marketing to Accelerate Growth. He's a member of the Forbes Business Council, co-chair of the Kingdom Missions Fund, and he's based in Arkansas with a family that now includes a couple of grandchildren. Let's go talk to Darrell Amy. Darrell Amy, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's great to be here. This is going to be so much fun today.
Yeah, it sure is. I am reading the name of this book. It is called Revenue Growth Engine: How to Align Sales and Marketing to Accelerate Growth. Okay, and I think we need a pause after that because that's a long sentence. But we're going to jump into the reason why you're arguing that we have to center around one revenue engine. You don't call it a marketing engine. You don't call it a sales engine. You call it a revenue engine. So am I reading that right? How is it possible that even though these are two separate functions, you're saying we only have one thing to build?
Absolutely. And if you think about it, the reason is the outcome, what we're actually looking for is revenue. And Glenn, I spent most of my career with two skis on. On the left ski, I was in sales. I got a marketing degree, headed out, wanted to make some money. I got a job in technology sales. I was a sales manager, ran a branch, and then finally wanted to hang a shingle out in 2004 and started a sales training company. And as fate would have it, Glenn, my very first client said, "Man, Darrell, that sales training was amazing, but our marketing doesn't say anything about what you just taught us. Do you build," wait for it, "websites?" And so 2004, for my marketing friends, those were the glory days of Microsoft Front Page. But literally, we started this journey, and over the last 2 decades now, I've been engaged in sales development. I've had the opportunity to train hundreds, maybe thousands of salespeople now, build sales training programs for Fortune 100 companies, but at the same time, also have a foot on the other ski that was really in the marketing world, which over the last couple decades, as you know, has been incredibly fun, from web, then to search, to social, to inbound, to account-based marketing, all along that whole journey. And so I've sat in between the two groups, and I've seen salespeople looking at marketing people saying, "Give us more leads." And I've seen marketing people send more leads to salespeople, and then salespeople say, "These leads are garbage." And, all of this back and forth. And what I came to the conclusion about was, it's actually, as much as I love sales development. I get to co-host the Selling from the Heart podcast. I have sales in my DNA. I'm actually down to therapy twice a month right now. It's going pretty well. And as much as I love sales, and then as much as I love the incredible world of marketing and all of the things that are being developed and innovated, the reality is it's not about sales. It's not about marketing. It's about driving revenue. And at the end of the day, we've got to realize that whether you wear that sales hat, whether you wear a marketing hat, or whether you've got a desk that's stuck right in between the two, the end goal of this is revenue growth. And I am passionate about driving revenue growth, especially exponential growth, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So this is where, it's actually the core philosophy of my messaging strategy. Buyers don't buy products and services, they buy outcomes. Uh, Really, if you think about that from putting that hat on ourselves, salespeople don't sell, they deliver revenue. Marketing people don't market, they deliver revenue. And this is how we've got to look at this going forward. We're both on the same team, and we've got to be aligned. By the way,
Yeah.
that ski analogy,
Yeah.
if those skis are not pointed in the same direction,
Oh,
I grew up in Ontario with you,
yeah.
and we skied
Yeah.
on this little hill. It wasn't anything like the big hills
Yeah.
in the
But
mountains.
still not
But if
good.
those skis are in the wrong direction, there's an orthopedic surgeon involved, especially at my age now, right?
Ouch. Yikes. Yeah. And of course, the thing that just makes it so blatantly obvious is there's only one customer. So we have two different functions, but they are focused on that self same customer who has one wallet. Um,
Hmm.
so, but there's another part here that you make really clear in the book. And I guess it's, if I had to guess, it's why, the engine analogy is you've got us focused on building something together, because you give examples in the book of how, and we can lay the blame out equally. Either side can do haphazard actions. So you talk about in sales doing ride alongs, and where somebody is saying, let's just go make some calls. And in marketing, we could have somebody who says, we just need a white paper. We just need a one pager. We just need yet another product sheet. Um, I think that despite the fact that there's a lot of busyness to those, you would agree that that's not building anything. Those are just ad hoc, and they won't actually lead to what you really want to see, which is an engine that is going to produce scale.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think the word behind all of it is process, or for my fellow Canadian friends, process.
Sure.
And this is where, and by the way, I'm a Canadian kid that married a Southern girl, so you get what you get, Glenn. But this is what's missing from most sales and marketing efforts in businesses is process, is looking at this and saying, let's not just do marketing for marketing's sake. Let's not just adopt some new platform for that platform's sake. Let's start backwards from our revenue goals, our ideal client, and then let's figure out what we need to do to create a flywheel of revenue growth. Tom Peters, the great business guru, talks about how businesses need to create flywheels. And I believe personally, the flywheel in a business is a revenue flywheel. We bring new people in, we sell them more stuff. We get net new, we cross sell. We get net new, we cross sell. Well, if you're going to have a flywheel, and I know this kind of takes us back to the late 19th century and these giant factories where they had this massive metal wheel. When you first shoved it, it barely moved. But the whole thing is, over time, if you keep pushing that flywheel in the right direction, if sales puts some force to it, marketing puts some force to it, now we get that flywheel going. And this happens with process. Processes are a series of steps for a repeated outcome. There's something that happens over and over again. And like you were saying, what ends up happening in most marketing is, we do a little bit of this, we do a little bit of that, then we go over here and do something like this. Well, what we really need to do is figure out, how can we put processes in place where sales and marketing are doing the same things over and over again. And now when that happens, we actually have something we can measure and we can tweak and improve. But all of this needs to work together to generate that flywheel. And so underneath, if you think about that analogy of the engine that's in your car when you drive to work, whether you have a gas powered engine or electrical engine, there's a set of processes in place that are creating that consistent forward motion. And that's how I believe we need to think when it comes to generating revenue.
Yeah, and you point out that it's the small things that can lead us to make that flywheel go even faster. So, you zipped by it quickly there, but it's worth underlining. Um, we all think about going out and getting that, new humongous client. But
Mhm.
you say that if you even get 15% more cross sell or upsell out of an existing client, and you put that together with the new business gains you're making, I think the quote that you came to is you could double your business within 3 years, which means, provided your business model stayed the same and everything in the environment did, that you could double three times over in 10 years.
Mhm.
That's pretty
Yeah, so
big.
let's unpack that for a moment on this. And by the way, for those of my marketing friends who are listening in going, man, I have so much trouble getting traction with the executive level, the owner, the founder, whatever, leaders you have in your organization. I have trouble getting buy-in. I have trouble getting budget for things. Start talking about revenue and see what happens. It's funny, but literally leaving here and I'm flying out to talk to a group of business owners that own technology companies. And we're going to sit and talk to them about revenue, how they can generate revenue. That group of people doesn't want to talk about marketing. They don't want to talk about sales. What they want to talk about is the outcome that they want, which is growing revenue and specifically growing revenue exponentially. So let's unpack this for just 2 minutes here. If you think about it, and this is the heart of this flywheel we're talking about, that's right in the middle of your revenue growth engine, there's two ways and two ways only to grow revenue. I can land more deals, net new, or I can sell more to my current customers, cross sell. That's it. You go, well, how else? I could grow revenue by buying another company. Well, that's true, but then you better get net new and you better cross sell more. Now, here's what I've noticed is two things about this. These two sources of revenue, most companies are usually good at one or the other. They either lean towards being good at, we're really good at going and generating opportunities and closing them and landing them. But as we were doing a revenue growth engine design workshop recently, and we're just kind of talking about their cross sell. And I said, well, what happens after you land a customer? And the room got really quiet. And someone piped up and said, well, that's what we call the black hole. I was like, there's an honest answer, right? We land a deal and then we move on to the next one. But the reality is, you might also lean towards saying, you know what, we're really good at managing our current client base and growing inside that, or revenue inside those clients. But if we're honest, it's been a long time since we intentionally brought on a new client. We may have accidentally brought some on because they got referred, but in terms of going out and acquiring new business. So here's the deal. If you're doing one of those things well, you're going to have linear growth. If you do both of them at the same time, now the good proverbial hockey stick begins. And here's the deal. And we show this in the book. And by the way, if you want to test this out, just text the word revenue to 21,000 and we'll give you a little simple spreadsheet. It's a revenue growth, exponential growth calculator. And you can say, I've got a number of clients, because that's net new, right? I want to grow my number of clients. If I have 1,000 clients right now, by the end of next year, I want to have 1,100 clients, whatever that number is, right? That's how you measure net new. Cross-sell revenue is one that gets overlooked all the time. And that's a simple measurement of what's my revenue per client. What's my revenue per client? So if I did, X million dollars in revenue and I had this many clients, my revenue per client is, whatever that number is. If you can grow, and this is what you'll see when you text revenue to 21,000 and get the exponential growth worksheet. If you can grow net new, your number of clients or customers by 12%, let's say, and grow your cross sell, your revenue per customer by getting processes in place to cross sell more to your current clients. If you can do both of those simultaneously, just small marginal gains, right? Then you literally, the math works, you double revenue, like you said, in 3 years on average, give or take a few months. And this is what's so exciting, because I think, if you walked into any boardroom and said, we're going to figure out how to double revenue. Sales and marketing people, we start to have a bit of a stroke, right? We go, oh my
Sure.
goodness, what's going to happen to the quota? The salespeople saying the marketing
Yeah,
people, I don't know how we're going to do
that's
this.
right. We're going to be sleeping under our desks. Yeah.
Yes, but if you look at this and go, okay, if we can raise our customer base by just 12%, if we can raise our revenue per client by getting strategic and putting processes in place, create this engine, yeah, you can double revenue in 36 months. And you do that over 10 years, you double, and then you double and you double. Let's see, you go from 1 million to 2 million to 4 million to 8 million, or you go from 100 million to 200 million, whatever scale you want on that. And this is the secret to revenue growth. It's not in these massive, hitting these massive goals of we're going to double the number of customers this year. Please don't do that, because your business probably couldn't handle it. Your operations team would kill you, and half those customers would leave. But let's look at marginal gains. I get fired up about this stuff, Glenn, because it's so powerful when you start to unpack it.
Yeah, no question. The thing, you don't let service companies off the hook either. It's easy for things like cross-sell to think, okay, well, you're going to need the next product after the current one wears out. But you say in service businesses, has anyone thought of packaging what our best clients chose to do with us after they had our foot in the door service? And it's just a matter of chaining those together and asking the next person, would you like this? We all do that with Netflix. We take its recommendations, and sure, I'll take that next. It really shouldn't be much harder when it comes to our businesses. An area that I wanted
this a little bit more though, Glenn, because this is a really important point, and this is not in the book, so this is total bonus material here for everybody. Is you've got to know what your superpower is. So let's say you're in air conditioning, you sell air conditioning HVAC units to homeowners. Theodore Levitt, father of modern marketing, said it, to his Harvard Business School class, day one, he'd walk in with a drill bit, right? He would say, nobody in the history of home hardware, Lowe's, Home Depot, ever went to the store to buy a drill bit. They went to buy a hole. Seth Godin would say, well, they didn't really go to buy a hole. They went so they could hang something on the wall and look good to their peers. Donald Miller would take it a step further and go, well, we were all once cavemen and chased by tigers. We're afraid if we don't have a community, we'll get eaten by a tiger. So we need to hang the thing. What the whole point of this whole thing is, no one bought an HVAC system from you. They bought the outcome that delivers, which is not freezing to death in the winter and not sweating to death in the summer. And if you look at that, you've got to ask yourself, what business are you in? Now, we could spend the rest of the podcast unpacking this, and we won't, but you could say, hypothetically, in that example right there, I'm not in the air conditioning equipment business. I'm in the business of helping people be comfortable in their homes. All right. So now if you enter that category, right? Or you could flip this the other way and say, I'm in the business of helping people maintain the equipment in their homes. Now you get in that category, you got cross-sell opportunities all over the place beyond just replacing my air conditioning unit in, 10 years when it breaks again. And this is what, there's services you can sell. And this is where, when you understand your superpower is not air conditioners, your superpower is making people comfortable in their home, or possibly your superpower is maintaining equipment at people's homes. Now you just opened up a whole new world of possibility. And this is where, I'm looking forward to talking to this group of technology business owners tomorrow, because they think that what people are buying from them is the products they sell. They're not buying the products. They're buying the outcome. Nobody wants to buy an air conditioning system. I bought one last year. I did not want to buy it. What I wanted to do is, since I live in the South now, I didn't want to melt. So that's what I was buying. So anyhow, that's bonus. But this is, we got to ask what our superpower is and what are people really buying from us.
It's true. And that's a perfect segue to talking about our messaging and the importance of getting that down to the smallest level that it can be explained in. You say that marketing needs to explain it on things like our site and our blog and social channels. Sales needs to explain it when they're in that proverbial elevator. But you point out that it needs to go to that step of taking your superpower and applying some kind of goodness for the user. Now, it's true that in a B2B setting, that's going to need to be quantified for a financial statement. But your point is well taken that we've got to boil it down simply enough that before we even get to the numbers, the party receiving that message understands instantly what it is. And to give that analogy of how much we've got to sift through to get down to that little perfect thing, I know that there's a favorite part of a nutritious breakfast that you love to have at your table, and that you use that as the analogy for what we're doing to our message. What is it?
Well, yeah, here's the deal. You've got to boil it all down to the thing that's going to get someone's attention. And, as salespeople, we show up and throw up, right? We like to just throw things out there. And if we're honest in marketing, it's sometimes, not much different. So I, like you, grew up in Ontario, Canada, and my favorite food on the planet, I agree with Buddy the Elf. I think syrup is a food group, especially maple syrup. And you and I were both talking before the show about the days when we used to go to the maple sugar farm, and you would take 40 gallons of maple sap, 40 gallons, and boil it some more and boil it down some more to get to 1 gallon of the finest substance on earth, pure maple syrup. And so when you take the unprocessed sap out of a tree, it kind of tastes like water and it's kind of nasty. But when you boil that down, you get to something that is extremely valuable and very delicious. And so here's what we need to do with our message. And this is so critical because whatever industry you're in and whoever you're selling to, you've probably got a wide variety of products and services that all have a wide variety of benefits. And it's tempting to just start throwing these things at people and seeing what sticks. But the reality is no one has enough attention for that. We're all subjected to over 3,000 messages a day, emails, banner ads, etc. So in order to get through that filter that we all have on earth to survive and not go crazy with 3,000 messages a day coming to us, in order to get through someone's filter, we got to be pinpoint accurate, not necessarily on the product or service, but on that outcome that they're looking for. Because I believe that, well, I know this from experience. So I have a theory, and my theory is when you travel, and I travel quite a bit doing workshops and speaking and all of that, when you travel, things break at home. They never break while you're there. And in particular, the nicer the place you travel, the worse things get at home. And so I remember I'm getting ready to talk to this wonderful group of entrepreneurs, deliver a keynote. I'm getting panic text messages from my wife who can't get on the internet. And I'm like, who made me the IT director of my home? But I am the de facto IT director of my home. So I am frustrated with this. And it's so funny because after that session, I lead a session, I sit down, I'm scrolling through my email, right? And one of my friends says, my email inbox is a slaughterhouse because I'm just going, how can I get through this, right? How can I get through this as quickly as possible? And I'm scrolling almost like light speed, with my phone. And then bing, there's a message right there that is talking about ending the frustration of internet outages at your house. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And I was laughing because here I am. In any given day, I would have zipped right past that, but it was an outcome that was top of mind for me. And now, no. So if someone had said introducing the new Cisco XYZ ABC 123 router, I wouldn't have paid attention to that. But they hit the outcome, and this is why we've got to be really dialed into our clients. And right now, we're in a very dynamic marketplace. The world is changing. I don't know if you noticed, we had a pandemic and then we had whatever's happened since then, and the business world and the environment is really, really shifting right now. So The products that you sell may be exactly the same as what you sold 2 or 3 years ago, but the outcomes your clients want may have shifted. And I'm going to notch that up and say they probably have shifted. So it's very important that you continue to go back to the well and dilute that message down to what's relevant right now. And to my salespeople and my marketing friends, I would say we got to get rid of the marketing mush acronyms. We can help you increase productivity, maximize efficiency, and it's just like static noise. We need to be laser focused. And the only way we're going to get laser focused is going out and talking with our current clients. Talk to your current customers and listen very, very closely about what's going on in their world right now in this season, and ask them questions about what's happening like right now, because that's where we're going to get the insight that allows us to create a sales and marketing message that resonates. And if we don't do that, we're just going to be static noise. And if we're static noise, then we're going to end up being frustrated. So this is a continual process. And this is part of the process. You have a process in your company to continually be talking to your current customers. Marketing people, please write case studies and success stories. Great way to do this.
Don't just listen to it. Put it to use.
Create new ones and go out and do the interviews, because in those interviews, they'll give you the keys to the kingdom. They'll give you the golden nuggets, the actual specific words to use that resonate with CFOs in the blah, blah, blah industry, or that resonate with construction managers in the, commercial construction, whatever you do. And that's where you got to pay attention to what's going on out there. And your message better be different right now than it was 6 months ago.
You've got to, especially if you're not putting into practice the things you've talked about. And I think one of the blessings is that if you have customers and you do listen to them, they already had to do that distilling process. And so when you hear them speaking back about what you've done, well, I mean, it's all there on a platter for you. You basically just have to make sure that makes it into what you're doing. And then, as you said, stop spewing out, at least for the marketers here, don't hand your salespeople more collateral. Hand them that story. Sure, put some specs and put some pricing on the back of it. Then you can call it a product brochure, but make it a story first.
Yeah, absolutely. This is such an incredible opportunity for marketing and sales to work together, to go listen to the current client base, and really don't just ask questions about your product or your category. Ask questions about their business and what's going on or their personal life, what's going on in their world right now. And that'll give you the topics you need to create the content, to create the talking points, create the prospecting sequences, all of the things that we talk about in the second half of the Revenue Growth Engine book.
And the second half is where we're about to go, because there's a lot of stuff that you've got there on the interactions sales and marketing can have. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Breaking away for a sec to ask, do you have a lot of company data in reach, but struggle to get useful business insights out of it? Do you open up your Google Analytics, but find you're at a loss on how to get it reporting the way you want? Do you wonder what new marketing strategies you could leverage if you could just unlock what's in your data? If you said yes, then you sound just like other clients did when they started working with me. Many B2B companies who I've done project work with have been helped by modernizing their analytics. Some deploy dashboards, some activate their data using machine learning in their campaigns. As of this recording in fall of 2023, my schedule is opened up enough to accommodate 1 or 2 projects. Should you be ready to begin a project, let's talk about what you would like your analytics to do for you. Please reach out today via the podcast feedback channels or connect with me, Hey Glenn S., 2 N's on Glenn, on either Twitter or Instagram. Or search up Marketing Analytics People on LinkedIn. I'm usually the first Glenn that pops up. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, Darrell, we're back, and I first want to make people aware of how you view this uh, tension that's been lingering around, particularly marketing for the last while. Uh,
Mm.
if we think about maybe since HubSpot came on the scene, since the internet and the ability for people to look up content came around, um, we used to have, salespeople being the ones who were like, "We're going outbound." It's, what did you say? The first one up shows up. If you show up first, you win first.
That's
Um,
right. Those are the good
right?
old days. That's
First in
right.
wins it.
First in
Uh,
wins. That was
right?
on the wall of this sales booklet. Like, first in
Well,
wins.
yeah, and you're just bringing back like Wolf of Wall Street in every boiler room I've
Exactly. Oh, we
ever
had
thought
Wolf of
of.
Wall Street had nothing on us.
But then
Next up.
marketing seemed to
Yeah.
kind of get this combative stance and say,
Mhm.
well, wait a minute. According to surveys, prospects want to do most of their research before. So therefore, it isn't outbound, it's inbound. And
Mhm.
inbound is, the way that we're going to do all of this. Sales is going to wait for leads to come in. Marketing is going to be in front of this whole process. You don't knock that, but you also point out that, okay, for a company to grow in the first place, we're all starting out small. And you point out that when you're small, outbound's the very first thing that you've got to have. If you don't have anything, you start with outbound.
That's right. Well, I don't think we should lose that. And here's what I mean by that. And I was trained attack dog prospecting sales rep. We went out, we prospected. I mean, that's what we did. We literally knocked on doors and grabbed doorknobs and walked in people's offices and all of that. Um, that's all evolved. What ended up happening was very interesting. And I'm love speaking with Brent Adamson and Matt Dixon of the Challenger Sale, huge fans of them. And that initial research, so my marketing agency, we started selling inbound marketing services, as part of the thing. And the types of clients we were working with, and this is where I think it's important to differentiate. I think there's two different types of sales models or sales and marketing models. One is where, and it's based on the market size. So let's say I'm selling air conditioning units in southwestern Ontario. So I've got a market size now of 400,000 homes or whatever that is. Let's say I'm selling roofing services in Dallas, Fort Worth. I've got a market size of, 1 million houses or whatever that is. In that point, the reality is there are people out there that have broken heaters or air conditioners. There are people there that have a roof that is leaking and they are going to need a provider. In the old days, they went to the yellow pages. Now they go to Google. You need to be found. And when you're found, I agree that, yeah, you should be found right now. There should be an easy path to take action. And when they ask, you should answer, right? You should have answers to their questions. Very, very smart thing to do. In the book, The New Solution Selling, Keith Eads, who is from Toronto, so he's fellow Canadian. That means no, he's really smart. Keith Eads talks about two types of demand. We've talked about maple syrup. Come on, let's just we'll hit hockey before this is over, I'm sure. But Keith Eads, I read this years ago, and he said there's two types of demand. Concurrent demand. So this is where my house is leaking, my car is broken, my air conditioner is such and such. I need someone to come open my garage that I can't get my car out because the garage door opener. That is current demand. And I know I have a problem and I'm seeking for an answer to the problem. But for every client, and I'm speaking primarily, but not exclusively to my B2B friends, for every client that has a problem, there are 20 other potential clients that have the same problem. It's just right below the surface. And Keith Eads called that latent demand. It's like right below the surface. It's not, no one's pointing it out. So inbound marketing addresses the issue of someone that has a immediate problem. And yes, you better get found online, wherever they're searching, and you better have some good, useful information. You better have a clear message, and you better have, a simple way for them to take action, or they're going to move on. We know that inbound marketing is important, especially for companies selling into broad markets with a lot of concurrent demand. But the reality is, a lot of us sell into markets that are more defined. So in the B2B space, and I'm thinking about my friends I'm going to talk with, they specialize in working with companies that have between 20 and 200 people using computers in an office. So they are able, that's their ideal client. They don't want to fix your computer at your house. If you
Yep.
Googled them
Yep.
and said, my computer's broken, they would say, don't call us. Go to,
Disqualified. Yep.
go to Best Buy, or go to someone that can fix your computer. What they are looking for is taking over management of computer networks. So in that case, they're able to look, and this is true of most B2B sales, and go, I know what my ideal client is. My ideal client is this. And so here's what I say that is a little controversial. Salespeople are always going to marketing going, give us more leads, give us more leads. And then marketing sends the leads, and salespeople go, these leads are garbage. Stop it. If you know who your ideal clients are, then you know who your ideal prospects are. And you don't need leads. What you need is engagement with those prospects. And this is the whole heart of the outbound part of revenue growth engine, is outbound marketing plus outbound selling. So what we're aiming towards on the sales side is the same thing we're aiming towards on the marketing side. On the sales side, every salesperson has a list of target accounts. These are the people that we're going to call on. We're going to get in the door. We're going to figure out how to do it. And our goal is 100% coverage, that they hear from our company, say, at least once a quarter, every one of them. We're going to do the same thing on marketing. Now, in the inbound world, we throw a bunch of, it's kind of like fishing, right? We throw a bunch of lures out there and we hope someone nibbles on it and we reel the fish in. Not in outbound marketing. Outbound marketing, which is also known as account-based marketing, we say these are the leads. These are the people that we're going to go after, our ideal prospects, and we're going to aim at 100% engagement. Now, we're never going to get there, but we're going to say, we're going to figure out with these 1,000, 5,000, 100, whatever number of ideal prospects you have, our goal as a marketing team is to figure out how to get on their radar and take that latent need and bring it up to the surface. And so it's a totally different thing to think about. And by the way, here's what's cool about this approach, because I know some of my marketing friends go, well, what about inbound? The interesting thing is, when you do outbound marketing correctly, you create 90% of the things you need to have an effective inbound strategy anyways. So, and I'm talking about good quality content and good quality data and all of that layered together. So this is the mindset shift of saying, we're not going to wait for someone to swim by. We're going to go and we're going to engage with a set list of people. And quite frankly, I know some of you in the B2C space are going, yeah, you B2B people do that. Well, B2C, if you know your ideal client as well, let's go back to that HVAC company. Let's say their ideal client, while they're happy to replace the unit in my house, their ideal client is somebody that has apartment buildings and it has a lot of units, right? Well, let's identify who those are and let's proactively go sell to them. Let's not wait for them to hopefully maybe call us. Let's figure out who our ideal clients are, people with 10 or more air conditioning units, and let's figure out who those people are and let's go get them. Outbound marketing and outbound selling working together.
They too then will need, because they will, if they awaken that market or that channel, they will find that they too need process. So nobody gets out here. Everybody's got to make a process,
Yes.
because when you bring them your way, they're going to say, okay, but what about this? And you say, oh, I need content to answer that for you. And so you can get there, by maybe piloting in small areas, but be ready for the work that will be required to get that to satisfy that
Hmm.
at various stages of the funnel. Maybe start at the top and work your way down, but there's so many things that you can do there. And I like how you said coverage, because I think most people understand the math of, for example, how reps are assigned to territories, right? We go, it's going to take, so many touches per account. We're going to give you so many accounts. And we know roughly how many touches it takes for you to get a discussion and how many discussions it takes to get to a close. So you can do that. But very few of us think in that same way about how we provision the marketing that we're doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I thought that that was an excellent way, because it pulls two things out of us. Number one, the work, but marketing gets to do this really cool thing of saying, but I'm going to build something once for this and use it
Hmm.
repeatedly. And I think an
Yes.
excellent example you gave there was sequences, not
Yes.
necessarily the actual, I'm a rep, I'm going to make a call today, but I'm a marketer. I'm going to write that email or the boilerplate of it, or I'm going to write the white paper and I need it once, but I'm going to get use out of that over and over again for the life of this sequence.
Absolutely. And throughout the whole buyer's journey, if you will, the whole life cycle of this, because remember, and this is another thing that I think is so important, is only 50% of your marketing should be addressing net new business. At least 50% of your marketing effort should be to your current clients in cross-selling and upselling. And if you want to truly experience exponential growth, look at where you're spending your time. Are you spending, how much of your time are you spending, generating the quote unquote leads versus communicating with the group of clients or customers that have already given you Seth Godin's permission? You have permission, they're current clients. You have, and my other all-time favorite marketing guru, Jay Abraham, would say, you have an ethical responsibility to deliver the best and highest value to every one of your current clients. So they get in the door through one purchase of one product or service. And based on your superpower, what else can you do to help them have a more comfortable home? What else can you do to help them maintain their equipment in
Yep.
their property? Whatever that superpower is, you owe it. Now, you may, and this is, I've seen so many companies, Glenn, just this is one of the things that keeps a business owner up at night. They'll have a core product or service that they've been delivering for years. And they'll say, you know what? We'll go to a meeting or they'll read something or they'll see one of their friends and they'll go, we could sell this because our customers would be great candidates for this. And so they bring that new thing on. It's a new product or a new service, new solution. And they invest in partnerships, training, or a plant or
Systems.
whatever. Yeah, all
Yeah.
kinds of money and being able to deliver that product. And then it falls flat because all of the sales and marketing effort is being spent on net new. But the reality is, years ago, I went to a tech conference, and there were about 2,500 business owners, marketing leaders, and sales leaders in this giant ballroom in Las Vegas. And onto the stage comes Tiffany Bova, the chief evangelist for Salesforce. And I'm like, this is going to be incredible. A big fan. And so Tiffany gets up, and I'm going to paraphrase Tiffany, but she basically looks at this room full of people and goes, y'all are idiots. I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. I'm paraphrasing Tiffany. But she said, you guys are crazy. You're like people in the 1850s that sold everything and took a chuck wagon out to California and then hiked up into the Klondike to get a gold mine. And you scratched for 6 months and you finally find that one nugget of gold and you slap high fives and go, yes, we got a gold nugget. And then the manager of the whole thing goes, good job, Glenn. Now go find another gold mine. And then you move on. We have gold mines in our current client base. And truthfully, most businesses, were they to put 50% of their marketing and dare I say even sales efforts into cross-selling, they could double, triple, or more their current revenue. And this is to me, the biggest, we're out there trying to land new business. Please don't stop doing that. But don't neglect to go down into your gold mine and communicate. When we talk in the book about a client communication plan, we talk about a client loyalty program. There's so many great ideas there, from all the credit cards and airlines and all that, to set up cross-sell. Insurance companies do a great job. We talk about quarterly business reviews. We talk about the onboarding process, all things that can be put in place, processes that create an amazing client experience, maybe not for all of your clients, but certainly for your ideal clients. And certainly for those people that can buy everything that you need, or buy everything that you sell. They need everything that you sell. Certainly for those people, let's look at this from a client's perspective. Go, what can we do to make this experience incredible and drive more value through cross-sell conversation throughout that entire journey that they're on in being your client.
Yeah. And I appreciate how when we're putting that, demarcation line and saying over on this side is the existing business that we have, and marketing should be stronger. We have lists, we have all sorts of ways of doing it, and we can really take the lead here. I do think, and this is one area that I still think we've got work to do. And it has to do with, I'm speaking here as a marketer, and I'm still sore about times in my past where being in a marketing department, heading it up, sitting with my counterpart in sales across the table from the people who were deciding budget, and having the salesperson's wishes granted and my budget slashed. Like I said, I'm still licking wounds from that. I'm dead serious. It really doesn't. It's not fun, and it's something that marketing has ongoing angst about. We, though, through some things that you pointed out in the book, can actually facilitate a different conversation about budget. One of the areas, and not do it in a confrontational way with sales. So this is the important thing, I think, about aligning it here, because if we don't have our organizational, patterns right, everything's going to blow up anyway. But you point out that when we're about to go and ask for an investment in marketing, that we should have enough information, and we should obviously be on good terms with our sales counterpart, that we could come up with some rough numbers on how and where that investment could be recouped. So to bring it all the way back to what you said in the beginning about an engine, and about how the engine is going to help us do things like grow net new and grow cross-sell, we could even look at things like, well, if we do more cross-selling, or if marketing does a better job of explaining what our value in our products and services is, we can charge more for those. And that found money, if we correctly business case our work in marketing, we ought to be able to say, we claim that money. Now, it hasn't shown up yet, but it's going to, and we just need the board to grant it to us now. But we're good to our word. We'll show up and we'll provide that later. And now marketing can be a full-fledged partner, not feeling like sales is going to come in and say, you know what, we've got a big old trade show we want to do, and we see some waste in marketing, and we don't like the leads they send us anyway. So let's just chop it from theirs and give it to us.
Yeah. I think that what you're saying is spot on, and all of this begins with the recognition by the top leadership of the company that sales and marketing needs to be driving towards revenue, and then it continues with collaboration. And this is where, one of the things that I really enjoy watching when we're doing a revenue growth engine workshop, where you have the leadership of the company, from the president, you have the sales leadership, the marketing leadership, and a lot of times now the operational leadership will come in too, because everyone's in sales. Let's just put that on the table, right? Everybody's in sales. You may not like the S word, but our operational people with the right processes are driving cross-sell revenue. And certainly the wraparound messaging for all those interactions should be driving cross-sell revenue, even if it's like a support interaction, right? Even if it's that technician going out to fix the broken air conditioner, there's cross-sell messaging opportunities in the setup of the appointment, how it's delivered, and the follow-up. So there's, this, but here, going back, when you can get, and this is where I think you start this whole journey, is saying, okay, let's think about our goals. Let's think about our ideal client, and let's get in the room together and design an engine to drive net new and cross-sell revenue. So everyone has ownership in it. Everyone has a voice in what's being put together. And now, you move from fingers pointed at each other to, hey, give me that whiteboard marker. We could do this here. We could do that. And everyone starts thinking together about how we can work to drive net new and cross-sell revenue. And so I think that's where it begins. And what I've witnessed is when the president or the owner of the company is in the room for that, and the CFO is in the room for that, they begin to go, wow, maybe this isn't a waste of money. And don't, sales is sales, marketing is marketing. Everyone might be historically clamoring for budget, but the CFO doesn't want to give either one any budget. So what we really want is we want to get everyone together thinking about what's our goal, how many ideal clients will it take to get that goal, and what kind of processes can we put together, what kind of engine can we design that's going to allow us to hit that goal. And then the question comes, well, what's that going to take in terms of people, technology, and all of that? And then you can make some sensible budget decisions. But before that, it's usually, here's marketing's coming again, asking me for yet another platform, right? And another monthly recurring payment for, and then here comes sales. They want 3 more sales reps because they didn't hit their number. They're just going to throw more salespeople. And so justifiably so, the CFO and a lot of times the CEO are roll their eyes when we make these requests. But if we can get everyone in the room together working on a plan, this is what our engine is going to look like, and this is what we're aiming towards, then you go, okay, well, what's it going to take to make all that happen? And then those budget things, they actually become a whole lot easier because we're focused on the outcome, and the outcome is revenue growth. And so the same type of strategies you use to sell your product, to market your product and service to your prospects and clients, you use internally. We want to start with the outcome. You'll get a lot further that way. Trust me.
Great way to put it. Yeah. And like you said, like if the outcomes are those things that are, being scribbled on the whiteboard and we're passing the marker back and forth, and sales and marketing are jointly developing it. Yeah. The outcome that they're going to get internally is going to be way better. I would venture to say that what we're seeing in organizations that are doing it better, a number of them are now having a CRO position where there's one person that they're both reporting to.
Yeah, I think you'll see that more and more. We're seeing the growth in the CRO title inside Fortune 1000 companies, and that is starting to drip down into the mid-market, and it's already been happening very practically in the smaller mid-market size, where you really just kind of have someone in the seat that is saying, figure this out. And so, yeah, I think we lost our way along the way where these silos came in, and I don't want to at all take my sales friends and denigrate the work and the skill that's involved in selling. Selling is really, really hard. And the same mad respect for my marketing friends, because marketing is really, really hard. It's a skill that you develop over time, and you always are honing your craft. But the reality is, we've kind of gotten like those two skis. They're not always pointed in the same direction. And we wonder why we're tumbling down the hill and getting carried away in a stretcher. Let's get aligned. And the alignment point is, let's work together towards a revenue goal to sell to these ideal clients. And when that happens, skiing becomes a lot more enjoyable, and so does business. So And then at the end of it, you can have a nice glass of hot chocolate with a side of maple syrup.
Oh, I like that. The après ski. Oh man, I think yeah, we've got the whole Canadian bingo card completed right there.
That's right.
Darrell, you didn't write a marketing book, you didn't write a sales book, you wrote a revenue book, and I think it's a great way for people of no matter which stripe to get into this conversation and have it more so that they can make their funnel even better. Where should people find out about the book and find out about you?
Well, right now, you can actually get the Revenue Growth Engine audiobook for free. If you just text the word revenue to 21,000, that's revenue to 21,000, or go to revenuegrowthengine.com. I'd love to give you access to the book so you can start listening right away. Of course, if you want a print copy of the book, they're available where fine books are sold. But I welcome the opportunity to connect with any of your listeners through LinkedIn. It's so much fun just seeing the network of people arising literally from all over the world that are saying, okay, yes, let's aim at revenue. Let's go for this. Let's figure this out. And if I can be a motivation, a help, or a guide in any part of that in your company, I would be honored.
That's awesome, Darrell. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for listening. Follow the show on Twitter @Funnel Reboot. If you like what you have heard today, please consider leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts.